Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Merab Fatemi. Um, Getting right back into it here. We're gonna take a look at the Wild Wild West, as I like to call it, the Western Conference. 4 days until the regular season is complete, and the stakes can't be higher for some of these teams. I'm just gonna rattle off teams right off the bat. In the 1 through 3 seeds at the moment are completely locked in with the Thunder, the Rockets, and the Lakers. Nobody can move up, nobody can move down. They're all clinched in those three spots. But from there, we have the Denver Nuggets and the Clippers tied at a record of 48 and 32 at the moment. Um, they're 4 and 5 are going to be those two teams are going to go down to the wire. The Grizzlies and the Warriors at 47 30, Grizzlies at 47 and 32, Warriors at 47 and 33. Warriors in the 7th seed is where the play-in tournament begins. Minnesota Timberwolves at 46 and 33, and then the Sacramento Kings and Mavericks at 9 and 10 with a 39 and 41 record for the Kings and then 38 and 42 for the Mavericks. Everything is heating up here. 1 through 3, like I mentioned, is completely locked in, but 4 through 8 is completely live and in play. Anybody can move up and down. Teams trying to move out of the play-in tournament, move out of that 7 and 8 seed, trying to evade those two spots. Nuggets trying to hold on to that 4 seed with a tough schedule coming up. The Nuggets they probably have the toughest schedule remaining out of for the rest of these teams. They have to play the Grizzlies and the Rockets. Grizzlies tomorrow night. Clippers, of course, the hottest team in the Western Conference, like I mentioned earlier in the show. Kawhi Leonard, it's all going to come down to the health of Kawhi Leonard and the consistency of James Harden on the offensive end. If those two can continue to perform the way they have for the last month and a half, they're going to have they're going to be extremely formidable come playoff time. But from there, we have the Grizzlies and the Warriors. Those two teams, I believe they still have to go head to head one last time before the close of the regular season. I was wrong. No, they don't. The Grizzlies face the Timberwolves, Nuggets, and Mavericks to close out the season. Those 3 games are all against playoff teams that are still fighting for their playoff lives. So they're still in the thick of it here, especially with a back-to-back with the Timberwolves and Nuggets tonight and tomorrow. That is going to be the story of the next 2 days, I believe, how those 2 games play out. If the Grizzlies lose both of those games, they could be the team that falls into that 8 spot. If they can split, they still have a chance to hang around between 5 and 7. If they can win both, of course, that would be best case scenario. They jump up there. I would pick them to probably jump up to that 2 seed or to the 4 seed and take that top spot. From there, the Golden State Warriors, like I mentioned, Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, they were the hottest team. They still are incredibly hot. Do not get me wrong. They're 20 and 5 with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry on the court together since the midseason trade. Obviously, sitting in the 11th seed, they held a 25 and 26 record prior to the trade, and now sitting at 48 or 47 and 33. This is why I say that loss last night was extremely, extremely crucial. Like, in the worst, it was devastating in a way because every game is crucial down the stretch. They finish the season against the Trailblazers tomorrow night and then the Clippers. The Clippers game is going to probably end up being one of the games that depend. The Clippers game is going to depend on where they're seated overall. Plain and simple. Clippers, obviously, like I mentioned, the hottest team. The Warriors trying to continue to get out of that play-in tournament, stay out of the play-in tournament, stay away from the Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. I believe they're eyeing that 5 spot, really trying to host. They want a playoff series against the Nuggets. That's the team that they're looking at. That's the team that they want come playoff time. They're trying to avoid I think they're trying to avoid more of the Rockets side of things. We saw Steph Curry struggle against the defense that Ime Udoka schemed up for him. We saw him struggle against we've seen him struggle against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then, of course, I personally don't, unless he does. Steph Curry doesn't really run away from anybody, but I don't think they want to see the Lakers in a first round matchup. If I'm the Warriors, I don't want to see the Lakers in a first round matchup. I want to see them in the second or possibly in the conference finals if that's possible, if I can. But yeah, like I mentioned, they want to look the matchup that they're favoring, that they're looking for, is against the Denver Nuggets at the moment. We'll see if that all transpires the way they're looking for it, but at the moment, that's how it's shaping out to be. And then, of course, the Timberwolves. They've been a very interesting. They've been a very interesting team down the stretch here. Obviously the chemistry between Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle has been kind of hard to create all season long. They've been on. It's just been very rocky for them. This is the best way to describe it. But coming down the stretch here, they've really started to figure it out. Obviously, Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards are very ball dominant, so that's probably or almost definitely playing a role in all of this. But down the stretch here, they've played exceptional, and they're one of the hottest teams as well in the Western Conference, I'd say. But yeah, they finish off their season in, I believe, like I mentioned, they play the Grizzlies. That'll be a must-see matchup. But they also have to play the Brooklyn Nets and the Utah Jazz. They probably have the easiest schedule out of the remaining teams that are in that 4-game tiebreaker at the moment, or the 4-team tiebreaker at the moment. But yeah, the state of the Timberwolves is just they have all the pieces that they need. They hold the cards. They can do it. With Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle playing the way they have, with Rudy Gobert on the interior playing like a Defensive Player of the Year candidate again, with Mike Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker coming off the bench as a key shooter off the bench. Naz Reid is still playing exceptional. They still have all the pieces that they need to go on another deep playoff run, and they're figuring it out. They're putting the pieces together when it matters most before the playoffs right now. So if they can continue that stretch, I think they can be extremely formidable come playoff time. And my prediction at the moment, I think they're going to end up in that 6-seed spot and face the Los Angeles Lakers in a first-round matchup, which would be must-see TV if they face the Lakers. Anthony Edwards versus LeBron James, or Luka Doncic. LeBron James versus Julius Randle. Rudy Gobert would be an absolute presence in the paint in that series. That would be an unbelievable matchup overall, I'd say, if the Lakers took on the Timberwolves in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. And then from there, I mentioned the Sacramento Kings and Dallas Mavericks. Those two teams really hold. They can't really move up. They're sitting at 38 wins or 39 wins between the two. Obviously the 8 seed is 46 wins. They're head and shoulders above the play-in tournament seeds, but still, whoever wins, like I mentioned earlier in the show, whoever gets the 9 seed, I believe will win that 9-10 matchup. If the Kings host the Mavericks, I'm personally picking the Kings to win that matchup, and then vice versa if the Mavericks host the Sacramento Kings. Either way, I personally think whoever wins that matchup will most likely lose to the 7-8 seed winner. I just think that's how head and shoulders the 3 through 8 seeds are over the 9 and 10. And then, like I mentioned, the Thunder and the Houston Rockets at those top 2 seeds. One thing that you guys might not know about, the Houston Rockets have been one of the best teams in the NBA. They've been a sleeper all season long. They have not been one of those teams that have been very ball dominant with a single player. They're just exceptionally well coached under Ime Udoka. Jalen Green is playing. He's growing in front of our very eyes as a number one threat on the offensive end. Jabari Smith Jr. still playing exceptional. Alperen Sengun's playing exceptional at the center position. He should be in the improved player of the year conversation, I'd say. Most improved player of the year conversation, even though I personally wouldn't have given it to him over Austin Reeves. But Sengun has played phenomenal all year long, and he deserves all the credit in the world, averaging a double-double this season. And then, of course, there is the best player, if not the best player, most valuable player in Amen Thompson, a young, growing. You can play him as a power forward. You can play him as a small forward. He can play. He can defend all 5 positions on an NBA court. He's extremely valuable for this team, and I think his play down the stretch. They play the Lakers in a couple nights here. That game is going to be unbelievable, I'd say, if both teams play their guys. At the same time, both teams might rest their starters as their playoff positions are set in stone here with 4 days to go in the regular season, trying to avoid injuries, keep their guys healthy, give their guys extra rest before the playoffs begin next week. But overall, this is where we are sitting in the Western Conference. I didn't mention the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't really think I need to, holding the MVP candidate and arguably the unanimous MVP candidate in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's played, there aren't words to describe how Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has played. As some people will call him an ore farmer, but he's played unbelievably all year long. From shooting the ball from the mid-range, getting to the free throw line, getting his teammates, being a facilitator, getting this team a bucket when they need it, playing very Steph Curry-esque, being a spark for this offense. That's the one thing that I've noticed about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I didn't even get into his defensive side, being a incredible two-way player. The only player I would compare Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to is a Jason Tatum, and that's not in Jason Tatum being better than him. I think they're both neck and neck in terms of how valuable they are to their teams, and in terms of their style, they play very similarly. But with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, with Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, exceptionally well coached, holding the best record in the Western Conference, holding the number 1 seed, they host every playoff series they host every playoff series they're in. As long as they win and continue to move on, they host those playoff series as the number 1 seed. So the road goes through Oklahoma City. Will they go to the NBA Finals? I'm personally not picking them. I think there's a multitude of teams that can beat them. I think the Warriors could beat them. The Lakers, if they can figure out their offense, their third quarter struggles, their defensive struggles. I think the one thing that really can overlap both of those is the play of a Luka Doncic. If he can turn into that scorer that we saw in last year's playoffs, if he can continue to grow as a scorer, continue to grow as a facilitator with LeBron, LeBron will spark in the playoffs. We've seen it for the last 20 years with LeBron in the league. But overall, I think the Western Conference overall is head and shoulders above the Eastern Conference, and no matter who ends up playing each other in the Western Conference, I think every game will be must watch. I personally believe the Western Conference playoffs this year will be the best we've seen in years. I don't want to call it the best we've ever seen, but this is one of the best playoffs I personally have ever seen in not only the West, but in either conference. Obviously, the Eastern Conference has the top 2 seeds, and 3 through 8 has been a little bit of a struggle for those teams. But overall, like I mentioned, the Western Conference is just head and shoulders above everybody else, I'd say, in terms of not only talent, but play overall. But as always, I just want to thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC basketball podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. Seriously, it does make a difference more than you guys think. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again for another amazing show. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your days. This is Mario Fatemi, host of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, signing off. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your days. Bye-bye.